I am now lactating for 3. It's Amanda, and I am filming my first video on my legit YouTube lighting sound setup that is really exciting. Today I am talking about breast milk donation. Now this is something that I wanted to do with both of my last 2 children. I am on baby number 3, third and final, and my first 2 babies, I actually did donate a little bit of breast milk to a friend who had a little bit of a low supply when Alex was 6 to 9 months, something like that. So I guess I did do that a little bit then. But when Sophie was born, I just wasn't able to find anyone to donate to. And so I just didn't. I had a freezer full of milk that I just had to gradually use with her over time. I've always had a little bit of an oversupply, and so I've always just had it on my heart that I have wanted to share my milk with somebody who needs it for their baby. Because I feel like at this point in my life, I am a stay-at-home mom of 3 kids, and I often have this feeling like, oh, I really want to be getting out in the world. I really want to be doing God's work in the world and being the hands and feet of Jesus in the world and helping people and getting out there and volunteering and helping the world peace cause. But I've talked to other moms who feel this way as well, but when you're a stay-at-home mom, you are so busy and you really just don't have a lot of extra time. And I've just really had it on my heart that because I have an extra supply of breast milk, that's a way that I can still be the hands and feet of Jesus in the world, if that makes sense. It's a way that doesn't take a whole lot of extra effort for me that I can help somebody. You know, I'm already lactating and I was already pumping anyway, so what's 1 or 2 more babies? I just increased my supply a little bit. There's a Facebook group in my area, in my county, for natural moms that I'm a part of. And one of my friends who's in that group tagged me in a post that somebody else had made saying that she was looking for breast milk donations in the county where we live. So I responded and said, ooh, me, I'm looking for a recipient. So I would be happy to be a long-term donor for you. And so it was amazing. It was just like the stars aligned, God thing, whatever it was. And so I communicated with this gal, and she told me that her daughter, this was actually her 4th or 5th baby, I think. And she hadn't had these issues with her previous babies. She had latch problems, one problem after another. She had supply issues, and for whatever reason, her milk dried up. Her daughter is 2 months older than Teo, I believe, and she had her daughter on formula. And once she went on formula, she started developing all these health problems. She was colicky, she was crying all the time, she was spitting up at least 50% of what she was consuming, so she basically wasn't gaining weight, and the doctor labeled her as failure to thrive. Even though she tried all these different kinds of formula, all these different brands and sensitive and all this stuff, it was all having the same effect on her daughter's poor little guts. And so she was looking for breast milk donation to solve that problem. And she had been getting breast milk donations from all over the region. She said she had been driving 100 miles this way, 100 miles that way to get donations from these women, which was amazing, but you can see logistically why that would be difficult to have to drive every which way and keep constantly searching for donors to give you breast milk. And when you are going through a hospital or some milk donor bank, that kind of thing, they have very stringent requirements. You can't be on any sort of medication. I don't know if they monitor your diet or what. You have to have your milk tested to make sure that you're not secretly doing drugs or alcohol, or I don't know, stupid stuff that I guess, they have those rules there for a reason, because I'm sure it's happened, which is really sad. But anyway, there's a lot of red tape and bureaucracy when you're going that route. And I just didn't feel like going there. I didn't want to jump through the hoops. And because I knew that there was a whole need of people living around me who just wanted to have some breast milk donated to them. They didn't want to jump through the hoops either. Yeah, so we got connected and she said that on breast milk, her daughter finally started to gain weight because she like basically stopped gaining weight. It was like a really scary situation. She was very small, 2 months older than Teo, and she was like half his size. I got to meet her. She was a very sweet little girl. Long story short, we got logistics figured out, and me and another gal are her 2 long-term donors because I don't produce enough to fully feed 2 babies. So there's me and this other gal, and between the 2 of us, we are able to feed this little girl. It's just like such a God thing. It's something I had prayed about for so long. Like I had really wanted to find a recipient for donating breast milk to, because I have this extra. It might as well help a baby who needs it, you know? So that was such an awesome answered prayer. I've been doing it for 2.5 months now. So that's been great. And then I actually had a friend of a friend who said that she was looking for breast milk donations. She had gone through an infertility struggle and she ended up having a very premature baby. She also had milk supply problems, and breastfeeding just didn't work out for her. And she also wanted to have breast milk donations for the entire first year of her son's life. And so she's been getting donations from all over as well. Our mutual friend told me about this gal and put us in contact. And so I was like, okay, well, I guess I can try and up my supply even more and donate to both of these mamas. So that's what I'm doing. I am now lactating for 3. It has been just such a blessing that it has worked out that I have gotten connected with both of these gals. Anyway, I just wanted to talk a little about if you are a lactating mom and you have an extra supply, or if you are in a pumping routine, just where you can go about finding recipient to give it to. You can, like I said, go through a hospital. I think most major hospitals now that have a NICU, usually you can get signed up through them to be a regular donor because they use it for their preemies, because lots of research has shown that when premature babies are given breast milk, their outcomes are just leaps and bounds better than when they're on formula. Or you can look up to see if there's a milk donor bank in your area. And when you go that route, they actually pasteurize the milk. So like they do with your standard conventional grocery store milk, they heat it to get rid of any sort of contaminants, just because I understand why they do it. It's because they can't have rigid control of, you know, hygiene standards for all these women donating. So it's probably fine most of the time, but just to cover their butts, they pasteurize the milk, which can have downsides as well because it kills all of the enzymes and the probiotics that are in it, but it's still a step up from formula. So there is that route. And then there's the route that I went on, where you can see if there is any sort of Facebook group or meetup group or anything like that that is specifically for natural mamas. Or even just any mom group. You can ask to see if there's anybody who's looking for breast milk donations in your local area. Another group that I recently joined as well that you can get on Facebook is called Human Milk for Human Babies, and that is precisely what they do. It's all for breast milk donations and connecting donors with recipients, and that is what they do. They have these agreements that you have to agree to. You can't have any sort of money exchange, any sort of exchange involved with that kind of thing, because you can think of all the legal nightmare and all the ethical problems with people trying to sell their breast milk. It could become kind of shady. So that's why it is legit donations. No exchange of money. So those are kind of the options that I'm aware of for if you are wanting to donate your breast milk, that's where you can go. So the other thing I wanted to talk about is my pumping routine and how I have increased my supply. There's even more things that I could be doing, but I'm not. But simple, what I have been doing is taking these things. Now, this is a breastfeeding supplement that I have taken with all 3 babies. It is by Fairhaven Health, and it's called Milky's Nursing Postnatal Breastfeeding Multivitamin. And I will link this down below as well. I love this supplement because it has more than just the multivitamin. It also has herbs in it that really help promote lactation, like fenugreek, which is something that you can take separately to help lactation as well, but it's just all in one pill here, which is great. It's so important to have all of your nutrients being replenished when you are breastfeeding, same when you're pregnant, especially if you're lactating for 3. You need to make sure that your body is getting all of the nutrients that it needs. So I've been really happy with this, with all three of my babies. This is the Traditional Medicinals Mother's Milk Organic Tea. And this also has all of the herbs in it which help increase your lactation. So it has bitter fennel fruit, anise, coriander, fenugreek, blessed thistle herb, spearmint, West Indian lemongrass, lemon, and marshmallow root. So those are all herbs that have been shown to help increase your supply, and it definitely does. After dinner, after the kids go to bed, I have a nice cup of tea and I come upstairs and I pump. And so that is a nice little segue into my pumping schedule. Now, one thing you want to do when you're trying to increase your milk supply, it's what's called a positive feedback loop. And if you've ever taken a psychology class or a biology class, you've probably learned what a positive feedback loop is. It's basically when there is a stimulus, there's a response, and then the response creates more stimulus, and the stimulus creates more response. So it's like this upward spiral. It's a positive feedback loop. So basically supply and demand. So the more your baby nurses, the more milk you create. The more you pump, the more milk you create. So I have tried to get into a habit of, after the kids go to bed and I've had my time to wind down and everything, I usually come where I am right here. I'm sitting in my office at my desk right here, and I have my laptop where I do all of my YouTube editing, and I sit and I pump while I do my YouTube editing or while I am, you know, surfing the web or reading Facebook or whatever it is that I am doing here. And it's great because I would be doing those things in the evening anyway. Why not pump while I'm doing it, you know? And I will show you the pump that I have here. So this is actually a hand-me-down pump that I got from a friend when Alex was born. This little trusty guy right here has done all of my pumping for 5 years now. This has been a trusty little Medela swing pump, and it is portable. You can put batteries in it, which I do, or you can plug it in, so it saves the batteries when you're just doing it by a wall somewhere. This thing has been really trusty. It works really well, and it's great that it's portable. The downside is you can only do one side at a time. It's just one attachment. There's this, and that's it. So you can just do one side at a time. So that's the downside, is that it takes me a lot longer because I can only do one side at a time. One of my recipients, she said that she has a really nice, like, hospital grade Medela pump, double pump, and she said that she actually just moved, and so it's still kind of lost in the move, but once she finds it, she's gonna give it to me, like, to help support me pumping for her, which is amazing. So I am really looking forward to getting a much nicer pump and much higher grade pump than I have now, but for now, you know, this little guy has been doing the trick. I have just been increasing the time that I actually am pumping, and what I do to increase the demand is, even after the milk stops coming out, I continue pumping, because that increases the positive feedback loop. It's like my body saying, oh, baby is still nursing. That means that I need to create more milk. So for the first couple weeks, I would just keep pumping for another 10-15 minutes even after the milk stopped coming out, and that really helped increase my supply. So just those three things. I know there's lots of other things you can do, but I just wanted to keep my routine simple in increasing my supply. I didn't want to get too complicated. I have enough complication in my life. I just needed to keep it simple. I mean, you can do like lactation cookies and eat oatmeal every morning and increase your fluid supply, which I am doing that too, drinking a lot of water. You know, there's all these other things that you can do as well, but these are the things that I'm doing. So yeah, I have now gotten up to the point where I am pumping about 12 to 18 ounces a night. Now that's sitting there for a good hour or two that I get that much. When I very first started pumping when Teo was born, I was getting maybe like 5 to 7 ounces every night. And so it's just by increasing that demand that I've gotten it up to that point. So that is how I do that every night. Teo is now at a point, he's almost 4 months old. So when he just wakes up one time in the night, it's usually while we are still awake. So I try to feed him first so he gets enough milk, and then I come and pump the rest. So that's kind of how I work that with feeding my baby and pumping. If I don't have enough for him in the moment and there's a crisis, I just put some of the pumped milk in a bottle and give it to him that way. And we have done that before. So that is how I became a breast milk donor, and where I went to find a recipient, and how I do my pumping routine, and how I increase my supply, all that good stuff. If you guys have any other tips, if you've been a breast milk donor before, put them in the comments below so other people can see, because I just feel like this is such a worthwhile cause. There are so many babies that, for whatever reason, I know that breastfeeding doesn't work out for everyone, and that's totally fine, and you know, fed is best, right? But there are definitely advantages to breast milk that, you know, you just can't get from formula, unfortunately. The antibodies, the enzymes, the probiotics that come with it. I read a list of elements that are in formula versus elements that are in breast milk. The number of things that are in breast milk is like more than like 2 or 3 times the list of what is in a standard formula. So there's just so much. It's such an amazing, miraculous substance that is perfect nutrition for babies. If you are able and you are lactating and you are a busy mom, but you still want to find some way to help the world, you know, this is a really good way to do it. And definitely highly recommend you do it if you are able and if you have the energy and time. Anyway, I hope this was a helpful video for you, and let me know your breast milk donation stories if you've been a donor or recipient. I love hearing stories like that, and just hearing of these little babies thriving. Which, speaking of which, I talked with my first gal that I'm working with, and her daughter now, who was failing to thrive before, she said that she is finally gaining weight. She's 6 months old now, and she is finally in the 20th percentile, and she was like lagging below the 10th percentile before, and now she's up to 20th. Praise God. It's just such a blessing that I feel like God is able to work through me in that way to help somebody else. So if you liked this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and hit that little notification bell if you want to see more videos from me coming up. So thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye.